A church which is a loving community, meeting both publicly and from house to house, sharing and caring for each other's needs, both spiritual and material.
You referred before to your first steps into the church and how you stepped away from very close friends and were really needing another family, having left one behind, as it were, in becoming a Christian. Do you think a church becomes a loving community automatically? Does it just happen?
I think that once we come to Christ, we come to into a new relationship with God, and it lends itself to the opportunity of our meeting people relationally. It doesn't happen automatically, in as much as one has been to churches where that is not taking place. So I think we need to learn, we need to be instructed. We live in a very fragmented society where people live very lonely lives, and especially in the West, where people often commute to work. They no longer live in the village with everyone in the town who knows one another. So fragmented life leads to loneliness, and church can just incorporate the loneliness into itself. So we do need to instruct and take steps to overcome that fragmentation and bring people into relationship. Some people don't even belong to a club, organisations, societies that used to be well attended. You can read the numbers are dropping, voluntary organisations, numbers are dropping as people get in their car, come home to their television. So to make them have an appetite for being together with other people doesn't also always happen automatically.
So you'd say you don't think it's sufficient that people simply come, encounter God together, receive teaching from the Bible, and then go home. You feel a church must be a community. That's not enough.
Yeah, we need one another. We will not grow to maturity alone, and so we need contexts where the formality can drift away, and even the big meeting. I mean, there's great value in a huge meeting. It's wonderful, but some opportunity to talk it through, ask questions, develop accountability. We need community, really.
I remember it being said of Lloyd Jones, who obviously you regard very highly, that he didn't really build a church in his day so much as a preaching centre, and that a couple thousand people would come each weekend to hear him preach, but that when he left, that came down to about 200 or so people, because there wasn't a community established. It was a flock that came to hear the man. You'd want to see that avoided in churches. You'd want to see communities established. How do you feel that happens? How do we cultivate community?
I think that we do want the best possible preaching we can get. So if you can get Lloyd Jones in every church, great. But I think that the way we started in the early days was to subdivide the congregation midweek into small groups. Now, when we first started that, it was revolutionary. And people said, you'll lose your church. Who's going to teach them? They'll break up. And I remember personally, again, when we were pioneering, it was simply reading in the story of Moses, how Jethro advised him to break it down to small groups. And I thought, oh, God says small groups in the Bible. I mean, I wasn't following anybody else. And I was working my way through looking at Moses. And so we subdivided the church into small groups. And then we gradually learned, hey, that's a trend that's happening all over the world. So I was fascinated to learn that. And we realized also getting back into homes for these home meetings gave intimacy, friendship, meals together, eating and drinking, which again is so New Testament. When they would have their love feasts, they would be meeting publicly and from house to house. And Paul says, you know, I taught you both publicly and house to house, which I take it to mean house church to house church. Now, we would be, not that he knocked someone's door, I would say there's a house church there, there's a house church here, and our house groups within a larger church can meet that kind of need. We can be together informally.